watching Gravitas. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Let's get started. Tonight on Gravitas, we talk about the real cost that Donald Trump has had to pay for the Iran war. Not the billions of dollars being spent every day, but democracy, ties with allies and international law, all being completely disrupted due to the American president's actions. We also get you more on what is called the Forbidden Island. The Karg Island remains at the heart of Iran's oil dominance. We unravel the mystery surrounding it and why it matters in what has been unfolding in West Asia. And the war in West Asia is not just about missiles and drones. Artificial intelligence has become the focal point of this chaos. Is an algorithm-driven war now setting the stage for a dangerous precedent with data as the lethal weapon? We're decoding this for you tonight. Iran's new leader has warned that all U.S. bases should be shut down. In fact, Israelis have rushed to bunkers as sirens blare across the country. Hundreds of Lebanese have fled their homes as Beirut burns. Iran's strikes, remember, have targeted multiple American bases across the Gulf. Israel is raining fresh strikes on Tehran as well. This war in West Asia is simply spiraling beyond control. Remember, cluster bombs are raining from the skies. Rockets are being fired in coordinated waves and tensions are exploding. The U.S. President Donald Trump is now turning on against his own advisors, blaming them, particularly those in his cabinet, for the fateful decision that ignited this war today. Meanwhile, in his first message since his appointment, Iran's new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, warned that all American bases must close immediately across the region, or they will face direct attack, even vowing to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. The war has now entered its 13th day, and at this time, it appears to continue unabated. The visuals on your screen show the extent of damage in central Israel following the Iranian strikes. In Tel Aviv, Israelis could be seen taking shelter as sirens sounded in the background. Amid all of this, Hezbollah and Iran have reportedly unleashed synchronized attacks on Israel using deadly cluster munitions, weapons designed to scatter dozens of mini-bombs across cities. And that's not all. Experts say that Hezbollah's rockets and drones are being launched almost simultaneously with Iranian ballistic missiles, creating a combined attack designed to overwhelm Israeli air defenses. Israel has confirmed that Iran has been firing missiles equipped with cluster munition warheads. Israeli officials say that nearly half of the ballistic missiles launched at Israel during the conflict carried cluster bombs. These weapons explode in midair and scatter dozens of smaller bomblets across a wide area. They're extremely difficult to intercept and can strike multiple locations at once, making them particularly lethal. Meanwhile, Hezbollah has intensified its attacks. The group launched a massive overnight barrage of rockets into northern Israel. And just a short while back, Hezbollah said that it targeted Israel's air defense systems near the town of Caesarea, which is home to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's private residence. Israeli authorities say nearly 200 rockets were fired, the largest Hezbollah strike since this war began. Israel has now ordered its military to expand operations inside Lebanon. Heavy Israeli airstrikes have pounded Beirut's southern suburbs, lighting up the skies and setting buildings on fire. Meanwhile, the human cost has been rising rapidly. Lebanese authorities say that more than 600 people have been killed in Israeli strikes across the country, while hundreds of thousands have been forced to flee their homes. Footage from Beirut shows families gathering along roadsides, carrying mattresses, blankets, and whatever belongings they could save as they search for safety.
We don't want war, we want peace. Let them find a solution already and end this, because people are exhausted and worn out.
Fresh explosions have been reported in Iran's capital, Tehran, and in several other cities as the US-Israeli strikes continue. While in the neighboring Iraq, oil port operations have been shut down after the deadly attacks on 2 foreign oil tankers. As tensions rise, Iran's leadership is issuing warnings. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian says that this war can only end if Tehran's rights are recognized, reparations are paid, and international guarantees prevent future attacks. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf said that this warning is there that Tehran will abandon all restraint if the United States or Israel attacks Iranian islands in the Gulf. A day after saying that the war will end soon, US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, said that the military campaign will continue.
We don't want to leave early, do we? We got to finish the job, right? Over the past 11 days, our military has virtually destroyed Iran. Tough country. Their air force is gone. Totally gone. That took the better part of about 3 hours.
Donald Trump, remember, recently said that advisors including Jared Kushner, Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio had warned him that Iran might strike the United States first, shaping the decision to launch the attacks alongside Israel.
Opinion based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us.
Meanwhile, the Israeli military claims that it has struck a site in Iran linked to nuclear weapons development. The target was the Taliban compound in Parchin, which is southeast of Tehran. According to the United States and the Israeli Defense Forces, this facility was used for advanced explosives testing linked to the covert armored nuclear weapons program. U.S. Central Command has also released visuals showing strikes targeting the Iranian Air Force. West Asia is on the boil. Missiles and drones are wreaking havoc across the region. Even as US President Donald Trump has described the strikes on Iran as an excursion, the reality is unpleasant. He's being punished by the hidden cost of this war. If we look at West Asia, United States has had a considerable military presence there even before this war built up. Towards the west of Iran, it has multiple bases in countries such as Turkey, Jordan, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, as well as Qatar. The U.S. military prowess got a major boost by the arrival of the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier strikes groups. However, drone and missile strikes by Iran have come as a big jolt to the U.S., with at least 11 of its bases suffering damage to buildings and communication infrastructure. For instance, on the very first day of the war, Tehran targeted Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which is, remember, the largest American base in the region. Apart from this, Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia and Ali Al Salem Air Base and Camp Buehring Base in Kuwait were all struck. Subsequently, other prominent U.S. bases like UAE's Al Dhafra, Jordan's Muwafaq, Salti, and U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain also came under attack. Now, this is not all. Iran has claimed to have destroyed multiple expensive radar and communication systems as well, such as the THAAD stationed across West Asia. This comes as a setback, as US was using them to track and intercept aerial threats. Now, how much is this war really costing American taxpayers? During a congressional briefing this week, the Trump administration officials reportedly disclosed that the U.S. spent at least $11.3 billion in the first 6 days of the war itself. Now, this is a conservative estimate at best because it does not include all expenses such as the cost of operating and maintaining forces that are engaged in the war and damage sustained from the Iranian attacks. Earlier, remember, it had emerged that $5.6 billion was spent only on munitions during the first 2 days of the strikes. But this is not all. The human cost of this war for US cannot be understated. Remember, while Pentagon revealed that 7 of its military personnel have died so far, the situation appears to be more grave. As per reports, more than 30 US military members have been hospitalized after an attack on its Kuwaiti base. They sustained serious injuries, including traumatic brain injuries, shrapnel wounds, and burns. On record, the U.S. has acknowledged that about 140 of its military personnel have been injured, out of which 108 have already resumed duty. But beyond monetary and military losses, there is something much bigger that Pentagon has lost out on. It is the credibility factor. Discontent has been rife among its West Asian allies, who were allegedly not given adequate time to prepare for the torrent of Iranian drones and missiles unleashed on them. There's also perceived to be a sentiment among the Gulf nations that US military hasn't defended them enough. In fact, even Europe has focused on bolstering its own defense rather than joining in the war effort. Spain has openly opposed this war and refused to allow America to use its bases to attack Iran. The country also, remember, has pulled out its ambassador from Israel in protest against this West Asia war. US has also alienated Pakistan, which had forged close ties with Trump since last year. But after the assassination of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Pakistan has been rocked by massive anti-US protests within its territory, in which over 23 people have been killed. Islamabad has been caught in a bind, as its ally Saudi Arabia is facing attacks from Iran. Meanwhile, is Trump planning to cancel the elections altogether that are coming up in November? Well, a passing comment made by him last year has resurfaced once again, raising serious concerns about the fate of American democracy. While meeting Zelensky in August 2025, remember, Trump had expressed agreement with the scenario that elections should not be held during wartime.
You say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now, so you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good.
Now, this scenario is unfathomable for America, as elections were held here even during the Civil War, the World Wars, and the Vietnam War. But the threat is real, as US President has publicly hinted at the possibility of doing away with the elections over his worry of losing these upcoming midterms. Now, even as Trump is seeking a face-saver to exit this war at the earliest, it is apparent that America will take a long time to handle the repercussions of this war. The skies over West Asia are no longer ruled by fighter jets alone. A silent swarm is rising, and it is rewriting the rules of modern warfare. Iran's drones and missiles are now targeting the very eyes and ears of American power. Our next story details how these Iranian strikes are taking out American radars, which are key to the missile defense systems.
War in West Asia is entering a new phase, not louder, but smarter and far more dangerous. In recent weeks, the battlefield has been flooded with Iranian drones and precision missiles. Their targets are critical, the radar systems that guide American and Israeli missile defense. Without radar and air defense systems are blind. And that is exactly the weakness Iran is now exploiting. Wave after wave of low-cost drones have been launched toward US military positions and Allied defense sites across the region. More than 10 US military bases across West Asia has been targeted. The strategy of Iranian attacks are precise. Many are designed to overwhelm radar operators. Some carry explosives, others act as decoys, forcing expensive interceptor missiles to fire. Then come the real strike weapons. According to defense assessments, Iranian missiles have hit and destroyed multiple radar installations linked to US and Israeli defense networks. Nearly 10 radar systems have reportedly been knocked out in recent attacks. These radars form the backbone of early warning systems that detect incoming missiles and guide interceptors. Take them out and the shield begins to crack. Military analysts say that this is a deliberate strategy. Iran is trying to blind America's eyes across West Asia. If radar coverage collapses, even briefly, ballistic missiles and drones can slip through the gaps. Clearly, if the war continues, Iranian counterstrikes could cause much more casualties and destruction. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
West Asia has been facing the brunt of Iran's retaliatory attacks. US bases, airports, oil facilities, hotels, and even residential buildings have not been spared. This has now propelled a rush among Gulf magnates to build bunkers. Earlier, explosions were heard in downtown Dubai. A ball of smoke hovered over the skyline as Iran claimed to have struck a tower with a precision-guided drone. While this caused a small fire in this building and damaged the facade, local authorities attributed this incident to falling debris from an intercepted drone. Iran continues to target energy infrastructure. In the early hours of the morning, a huge blaze raged in Bahrain's Muharraq region as Tehran attacked fuel tanks at a facility. Now, in the wake of such attacks, the Atlas Survivor Shelters, one of the world's key manufacturers of underground bomb shelters, has been inundated with requests from rich clients based in Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and the UAE. This US-based firm offers a basic model costing around $25,000 US to a large bunker that can sustain people for up to 2 years.
I have a few types of shelters, starting with like our $25,000 backyard bunker, which is only for 4 people, but it's designed to keep a family of 4 alive for up to 7 days. Okay, then you advance to a little larger shelter, which is designed to keep a family alive for at least 30 days minimum. And then you get into our larger bunkers that can cost millions of dollars.
Now, these bunkers are usually built 2 to 3 meters underground and claim to provide protection from bomb blasts, radiation and artillery fire. Now, can people survive in these shelters for so long? Well, they tend to resemble a flat with stocked food and water, a bedroom, a living room with television, kitchen, laundry area, and a bathroom. They're all in there. The facility is also connected to a power source and can store as well as filter water. This is not an isolated scenario. Remember, reports have suggested that thousands of residents and tourists have fled Dubai since the beginning of the Iran war. It matters as over 90% of Dubai's residents are estimated to be foreigners, including a high number of billionaires. Animal charities have also flagged how many pets have been left behind by people leaving because of this war. While 13 UNSC members adopted a resolution demanding Iran end its attacks on Gulf countries, Iran's intent to punish any country that is aiding American and Israeli attacks implies that tensions are unlikely to cool down anytime soon. The West Asia war continues to intensify the attack on oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, and that has sent oil prices soaring across the globe, keeping the region on an edge. In the US and Israeli campaign across the region, several targets have been struck, but one island, Karg, remains off limits. Experts say that bombing or capturing the site with US forces would likely cause a sustained increase to already surging oil prices, as it would amount to taking the entirety of Iran's daily crude exports offline. Let's get to the context. Geographically, Karg Island is a small coral outcrop about 55 kilometers northwest of Bushehr, which is Iran's main southern port. It handles nearly 90% of Iran's oil exports and can load millions of barrels daily, surrounded by deep waters. It offers access for the world's largest oil tankers. Now, this is a rare advantage in a region where much of the coastline is too shallow for supercrude carriers. Despite over 5,000 American strikes in and around Iran, Karg's oil infrastructure remains intact. It's a deliberate decision to avoid disrupting global markets and provoking a severe retaliation. A petrochemical facility was jointly developed here in 1969 by the National Iranian Oil Company and US-based American Oil Company. This island was linked by pipelines to both offshore oil fields as well as mainland oil fields in Khuzestan. And by early 1970s, this infrastructure transformed Karg into Iran's largest oil loading terminal. At present, it has a capacity of loading up to 7 billion barrels of oil every day. It also handles nearly 90% of Iran's oil exports. During the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s, it was bombed by Saddam Hussein's forces on multiple occasions. According to JP Morgan, around 1.3 million to 1.6 million barrels of oil a day passes through Karg. Last month, before the war broke out, Iran increased volumes to 3 million barrels a day. Now, the shore-up was done, remember, in anticipation of a US-led attack. A further 18 million barrels are stored on Karg as a backup. Iran's Speaker of the Parliament, Ghalibaf, has issued a stern warning. In fact, taking to X, he said, and I quote him, "Any aggression against the soil of Iranian islands will shatter all restraint and make the Persian Gulf run with the blood of invaders," unquote. Before the latest US-Israel offensive, most of Iran's crude oil from Karg was exported to China. But the interconnected nature of the market means a permanent loss in export supply would further affect global prices. And not to ignore the timing, when a further 3.5 million barrels a day are also offline because of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. More than 45 years ago, the then US President Jimmy Carter had also considered attacking this very island. This was to retaliate against Iran holding American hostages. Reports say that initially US military officials thought that it would be very easy to seize this island, but later they found that Iran had stationed about 250 soldiers on this island and another 250 air defense personnel and up to another 500 military personnel involved in a hovercraft program. They then thought about an airstrike. However, Jimmy Carter was not sure that France, UK, Japan and others could handle the impact of the oil supplies. The US attack plan went no further. In short, Kharg is Iran's most sensitive energy hub, and so far it has remained untouchable in this war, a strategic artery that the US and its allies have so far decided to leave alone.
Our nations, as you know, share a long
The conflict in West Asia is no longer just about missiles, drones, or fighter jets. Artificial intelligence now appears to be increasingly becoming the focal point because, with the help of algorithms, AI appears to decide where and when the drones and bombs fall. The United States has been deploying artificial intelligence to hunt targets deep inside Iran, turning this war into a data-driven operation. As per reports, during the opening phase of the war, the US military struck nearly 1,000 targets within just 24 hours, made possible reportedly by one of the most advanced AI-driven systems ever used in modern warfare. At the center of this operation is Pentagon's Maven Smart System, a powerful intelligence platform developed by the data analytics company Palantir Technologies. The system processes enormous volumes of classified information gathered from satellites, surveillance feeds, and battlefield intelligence. Within seconds, it identifies potential targets, assigns priority levels, and sends real-time coordinates to military planners. Embedded within Maven is Claude AI, an artificial intelligence model developed by Anthropic. Together, these technologies reportedly helped American planners generate hundreds of potential targets, rank them by importance, and accelerate the pace of military operations against Iran. This AI can also assess damage after a strike begins, giving the commanders immediate feedback from the battlefield. Officials say AI has transformed how wars are planned. Tasks that once required weeks of intelligence analysis can now be completed in a few minutes. The commander of the US Central Command carrying out operations against Iran, in fact, acknowledged on social media that AI had become a key tool in helping the US choose targets in Iran. Incidentally, AI was reportedly used in the capture of the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro as well. At the start of this year, Claude was banned by Pentagon last month, but the growing role of AI in warfare has also triggered an alarm in Washington. Members of the United States Congress are now demanding tighter oversight and safeguards. As the Pentagon rapidly integrates artificial intelligence into combat operations, this issue became even more controversial after reports that an American strike hit an elementary school in Iran's city of Minab, killing more than 175 people, many of them children. Investigators are now examining whether intelligence failures, technical systems, or AI-assisted targeting contributed to this tragedy. Even as scrutiny intensifies, the Pentagon appears to put the use of AI on its top focus. The U.S. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, in January this year, had issued a memorandum for senior Pentagon leadership advocating the use of AI in redefining modern warfare. And with that, it's time for a break. Coming up on Gravitas, Washington's psychological war drums are getting louder as Team Trump opens new war front in Iran. And a new study shows that recreational drugs double the risk of a stroke. More on this on the other side of the break. The war at sea may be entering a far more dangerous phase. A missile designed to hunt aircraft carriers could now be linked to Iran's arsenal. And if that is true, the United States Navy may face one of its most serious threats in the Gulf.
Tomahawk missiles blasting into the night sky. Fighter jets roaring off. The decks of American warships, carrier strike groups slicing through the waters of West Asia. For decades, this has been the symbol of U.S. military dominance. The U.S. military says it attacked and destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels near the Strait of Hormuz.
But we knocked out 58 naval ships. We knocked out their Navy, okay? Let's put it that way. But they also knocked out the mine layers. They call them mine layers. They put mines in the water. Lovely job. Isn't that nice? Blow up ships.
Massive aircraft carriers surrounded by destroyers and submarines. American floating fortresses are launching devastating strikes across Iran. But every fortress has a weakness. But military analysts believe Iran may now be seeking the weapon built specifically to exploit it. Military analysts believe Iran may now already have the weapon built specifically to exploit it. The missile in question is China's YJ-12. While the missile's official specifications have not been disclosed, it is estimated to be 6.5 meters long, 0.5 meters in diameter, and weigh about 2 tons. This supersonic anti-ship missile, often described in defense circles as an aircraft carrier killer, reports have raised the possibility that Iran could have actually acquired the export version of this powerful weapon. Beijing has denied that it is preparing to sell the missile to Tehran. But experts say if such a transfer ever happened, it would dramatically change the naval balance in West Asia. The YJ-12 is designed for speed and shock. It flies just meters above the sea surface, making it difficult for radar systems to detect. It travels at supersonic speed, and in the final moments of flight, it accelerates even further toward the target. That leaves defending ships with very little time to react. In large numbers, these missiles could overwhelm the defensive shield protecting a U.S. carrier strike group. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The conflict in West Asia has left India navigating one of the worst energy crises. Restaurants and small businesses are now scrambling to remain operational. From New Delhi to Mumbai and Bengaluru, the ground reality seems grim. Commercial users of LPG, such as restaurants and catering services, are the ones who are impacted the hardest. In parts of northern India, people beelined outside gas refilling stations as panic loomed. Several prominent schools and institutions have now issued a warning. The Delhi High Court lawyers' canteen has stopped serving the main meals because of this very shortage. Meanwhile, in Mumbai and Bengaluru, the disruption has nearly halted operations. As per the India Hotels and Restaurant Association, the shortage could soon paralyze this sector, with 20% hotels in Mumbai already shut. And if the situation fails to normalize, the number could go as high as 50%. The LPG crisis has also become a major flashpoint in the Indian Parliament. Union Energy Minister Hardeep Singh Puri said that India has adequate fuel stocks and that there are no concerns over availability. In fact, he's also said that India has diversified its LPG import sources.
India's crude supply position is secure and volumes secured exceed what the Hormuz would have delivered. Before the crisis, approximately 45% of India's crude imports transited through the Hormuz route. Thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister's outstanding diplomatic outreach and goodwill, India has secured crude volumes that exceed what the disrupted Strait of Hormuz could have delivered in the same period.
India's leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, led the protest in the parliament premises over the alleged fuel shortage. Calls to address the issue echoed across the parliament.
This war is going to have far-reaching consequences. The central artery from where 20% of the global oil flows, Strait of Hormuz, has been closed, and this is going to have tremendous repercussions, particularly for us, because a very large portion of our oil and natural gas comes through the Strait of Hormuz.
The ongoing war in West Asia has triggered this unprecedented crisis. The Strait of Hormuz has emerged as a critical choke point. With India being one of the world's largest LPG consumers, nearly 62 to 65% of the total demand is met through imports, and more than 90% of LPG imports coming from West Asian suppliers. Most of the shipments are now routed through the Strait of Hormuz, which of course remains closed at the moment. Ever since the war with Iran began, the Donald Trump administration has been using sharp and at times chest-thumping rhetoric in its public briefings. From speeches to Pentagon podiums, the message has been delivered with a heavy dose of psychological boasting, projecting strength while taunting an adversary in West Asia. Trump even joked about the sinking of the Iranian ships. The words of Team Trump are drawing attention for their tone as much as their message. Take a look.
For Donald Trump, even naming the war sounds casual. The president says he picked epic fury from a list of options for the attack on Iran. This is also the same president who also remarked that his general said it was good to watch Iranian ships sink.
But they gave me a list of names of generals. Sir, you can pick the name you'd like, sir. I said, the name of what? The name of the attack on Iran, sir. And they gave me like 20 names. And I'm like falling asleep. I didn't like any of them. Then I see Epic Fury. I said, I like that name. I like that name.
At the Pentagon, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth strikes a confident boast, claiming that Washington is winning the war with brutal force.
Our will is endless. Ultimately, the president gets to determine the end state of those objectives, right? But what he's said continually, and I want the American people to understand, is this is not endless. It's not protracted. We're not allowing mission creep. The president has set a very specific mission to accomplish, and our job is to unrelentingly deliver that. Now, he gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding. He's the one elected on behalf of the American people.
And at the White House, Trump's press secretary puts the message in even starker terms. A regime crushed, enemies paying in blood, leaders wiped off the face of the earth.
The president's words are backed up by the mightiest warriors in the world who possess the most sophisticated capabilities this world has ever known. 49 and counting of the most senior Iranian regime leaders, including the supreme leader, have already been wiped off the face of the earth. Make no mistake, killing these brutal terrorists is good for America and makes the world a much safer place.
With the death toll rising across West Asia, Team Trump has opened a new front where Washington's psychological war drums are getting louder. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
A US-based medical technology company has been hit by a cyber attack with an Iran-linked hacking group claiming responsibility. The incident has disrupted some systems at Stryker, which is a global medical device and services provider. An Iranian-linked hacking group called Handala has claimed responsibility for the cyber attack targeting US medical technology company Stryker. This claim was posted on the group's Telegram channel on Wednesday. Stryker, which is headquartered in Michigan and operates in more than 60 countries with about 56,000 employees, confirmed that it is dealing with a cyber incident. In a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the company said that the attack has caused disruptions and limited access to some of its systems. The company also said it is still working to fully restore its networks, and the timeline for complete recovery remains unclear. Stryker said there is currently no indication that ransomware or malware was used in the attack. However, social media posts by staff and contractors claimed that the logo of an Iran-linked hacking group appeared on some company login pages. Reports also suggest that the disruptions began shortly after midnight on Wednesday on the U.S. East Coast. Some remote devices connected to Stryker's networks, including laptops and mobile phones running Microsoft Windows systems, were reportedly wiped during the attack. The company's global headquarters in Portage, Michigan, also answered calls with a recorded message stating that the facility was experiencing a building emergency. The hacking group Handala said that the attack was carried out in response to the recent American and Israeli airstrikes on Iran. The group referenced a strike on the girls' school in the city of Menab in southern Iran, which Iranian officials say killed about 160 students. As the war across West Asia continues, new images are emerging from multiple flashpoints across the region, with US releasing videos of striking aircraft in Iran to oil burning off Iraq's coast, blazes at energy facilities in Oman and Bahrain, and a drone strike sparking a fire in Dubai. Here are the latest images coming in from across the region. The world is staring at an uncertain future, with global weather patterns becoming erratic and extreme. European Centre for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts has now warned that the planet could see a strong or super El Nino this year. It is raising fears of extreme weather and record temperatures. So what will be the impact of this phenomena? A potential super El Nino threatens India with severe heat waves and below normal monsoon rains. In India, remember, El Nino events are often linked to below average monsoon rainfall. This can impact agriculture, water resources, and overall economic activity. It usually has the opposite impact of La Nina, which is a climate pattern that is generally associated with stronger monsoon rains across the Indian subcontinent. The World Meteorological Organization has indicated a global signal for above average land surface temperatures during the March to May period this year. India is already experiencing this trend. According to the Indian Met Department, several regions are facing heat wave to severe heat wave conditions. Mumbai has already recorded its hottest March day since 2021 on the 10th of March, with temperatures in the suburbs soaring to 40 degrees Celsius. Temperatures could remain 5 to 7 degrees Celsius above normal in parts of Jammu and Kashmir as well as Himachal Pradesh. Northwest India, including Delhi NCR, Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh, may see temperatures 4 to 6 degrees above normal. And in southeastern Peninsular India, temperatures are expected to stay 2 to 3 degrees above normal in the coming days. El Nino, remember, is a natural cyclical warming of parts of the equatorial Pacific Ocean that changes weather patterns around the world. This warming influences where droughts, floods and extreme heat may occur. A super El Nino happens when sea surface temperatures in this region rise at least 2 degrees Celsius above normal. When the ocean warms this much, it triggers a powerful atmospheric response, making climate impact stronger, longer lasting and more widespread. Now, these changes can impact where heat waves occur, where heavy rains and flooding happen, where drought intensifies, how the hurricane paths shift, and it can even lead to declining sea ice concentrations in some regions. El Nino was known to occur once every 3 to 7 years, but its frequency has now increased, and worryingly so. According to scientists, this phenomena has become more intense since the late 20th century, and there are no signs of it slowing down. Moving on, has the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer discovered his socialist mojo as he continues to face the Epstein files heat? Well, his latest move signals so, as the UK Parliament cleared a landmark legislation ending centuries of British political tradition. After hundreds of years, hereditary peers, including dozens of dukes, earls and viscounts, have all been removed from the House of Lords. UK's upper house is an unelected house comprising 842 members, out of which at least 92 are hereditary peers. Now, why is this move so significant? Remember, hereditary peers are essentially aristocrats who inherit titles from their forefathers. For generations altogether, members of these families automatically become a part of the House of Lords and had legislative powers. While over 600 hereditary peers were removed from UK's upper house during Tony Blair's tenure as the Prime Minister back in 1999, 92 others were retained as an interim measure in order to avoid an outright rebellion by the aristocrats. It took over 25 years for another legislation to reform the House of Lords, which has often faced criticism for being an unwieldy and undemocratic body. After all, it is the world's second largest legislative chamber in the world, and, it's after China's National People's Congress. However, reports indicate an internal compromise. An undisclosed number of hereditary peers will be appointed as life peers by the King on the Prime Minister's advice. This will enable them to retain their membership of the House of Lords. This also comes at a juncture when the Labour is trailing big time behind Nigel Farage's Reform UK party. In the recent opinion poll, Starmer is facing, remember, more scrutiny, as it has now emerged that he was warned about Mandelson's close ties with Epstein before appointing him as ambassador to the US. African nations are pushing for an international resolution that could label the transatlantic slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity in history, and they are preparing to put Britain's role directly under the spotlight. Ghana is expected to introduce the resolution at the United Nations later this month on behalf of the African Union. This proposal seeks formal recognition of the European-led transatlantic slave trade as a historic crime of unprecedented scale, pointing to its vast human toll and its long-lasting economic and social consequences. According to the UN, the transatlantic slave trade lasted over 4 centuries. Around 15 million Africans, including men, women and children, were forcibly transported across the Atlantic, with the largest number sent to Brazil and other parts of the Americas. African leaders say that the scale, duration and enduring impact of the trade justify calling it history's greatest crime against humanity. The African Union is also pressing for reparations from the EU countries, claiming that the legacy of slavery contributed to the economic gap between Western nations and much of the developing world. African diplomats are now lobbying countries across the globe ahead of a vote scheduled for the 25th of March. The day is also marked as the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade. Ghana's move has reportedly secured the backing from Caribbean countries as well and many African states, while additional support is reportedly being sought from developing countries and non-aligned nations. If passed, this resolution is likely to bring about a global conversation about history, slavery, and justice, with Britain's past firmly under the microscope. A major global study is sounding the alarm on the hidden health risks of recreational drug use. It warns that some substances may more than double a person's risk of suffering a stroke. The findings come from a massive analysis of medical data from more than 100 million people published in the International Journal of Stroke. Now, researchers found that users of certain illegal drugs face significantly higher risks of a stroke. This medical emergency, which occurs when blood flow to the brain is blocked or a blood vessel bursts. According to the study, people who use amphetamines have 122% higher risk of a stroke as compared with those who do not use the drug. For cocaine users, this risk is also alarmingly high at 96% greater than non-users. Even cannabis, which is often perceived as less harmful, was linked to a 37% increase in stroke risk. The impact is even more concerning among younger people. When scientists focused on people under the age of 55, they found that amphetamine use was associated with nearly triple the risk of a stroke. In the same age group, cocaine users faced a 97% higher risk, while cannabis use was linked to a 14% increase. Worldwide, the stroke is one of the leading causes of death and long-term disability. It is responsible for more than 7 million deaths every year. Scientists say these substances can damage the cardiovascular system in several ways. Drugs like amphetamines and cocaine can cause sudden spikes in blood pressure and narrow blood vessels in the brain, increasing the chances of both blockages as well as bleeding. Cocaine is known to accelerate atherosclerosis as well, which is a condition where fat and cholesterol build up in arteries, causing them to harden and narrow. According to the UN, about 300 million people worldwide use illicit drugs, including 228 million cannabis users, 30 million amphetamine users, and 23 million cocaine users. Health experts say the message from the study is clear. Drug use is not just a social or legal issue, but a major public health concern. Experts emphasize that most strokes are preventable provided people adopt healthier lifestyles, including a balanced diet, regular exercise, moderate alcohol consumption, and avoiding smoking or illegal drugs. A rare superbloom is sweeping across California's Death Valley National Park, transforming normally barren stretches of the land into sweeping fields of colorful wildflowers. This unusual display is drawing visitors from around the world. Take a look.
It's amazing. It's the last time we've been here, it was all burned, burnt from the sun. So actually, just the fact that it's green around here is amazing. The yellow flowers, this is just fantastic. So they're definitely close to the picture that we've seen.
And on that colourful note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas. But as always, we will keep getting you the latest analysis from across the world. Thanks for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics.